And this is what we're going to do. I'm going to say the word sponge. And you guys are going to say the first word that pops into your head, okay? Ready? 1, 2, 3, sponge.
Sponge.
Yellow.
Sponge. That's mine.
I command you, as King of the Britons, to stand aside.
I move for no man.
Hey, can I bring Anne?
Who?
Anne. You know, she's the girl I'm kind of hanging out with.
I haven't met him.
Yes, you have.
Michael had met Anne.
It's the Al Travis Show. We've got him with us, Representative Walter Hudson, and I presume, and maybe I shouldn't do that he is just as thankful for how close we came to having kings. If it weren't for those folks out there stopping that action, appreciate it to all of them. Woke up this morning, no king. I personally am going to start a rally this weekend. Keep the skies blue. Your thoughts, Representative Hudson?
Yeah, just absurd branding. Like, obviously it's poll tested. Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing it because they don't do anything without running it through some. It's like hope and change, right? Yeah. Let's find the most obtuse, vacuous, meaningless nonsense that sounds good and excites our non-thinking base, and let's roll with that. But yeah, it's especially tone deaf in a context where the government is currently shut down by the party out of power.
Yeah. Well, if there was a king, he wouldn't let you have your No Kings rally. I mean, you just don't get to do that.
Right.
It's king rule number one.
And on that point of the government being shut down, it's absolutely astounding to me that they continue to run with, again, this vacuous talking point about, well, Republicans are in control of the White House, the House of Representatives, and the Senate. As if people just banking on the complete civic illiteracy of the entire American population. But you in fact need 60 votes in the Senate, and they have 7 of them that they're denying.
See, but the problem is there is some lack of understanding. People listening to only what they want to hear. Literally out this weekend, and a friend's like, well, it's the Republicans who shut it down. And I turned and said, every single Republican voted for the continuing resolution. They said keep her going. Right. How did they shut it down? Your team needed 7, you got 4 or 3, whatever. I said, he goes, well, I didn't know that. It's like, you're only hearing what you hear.
Yeah. Well,
what do you do?
I think that the degree to which there is civic illiteracy out there, it is their base. Right?
Okay,
like their base is the civically illiterate. I mean, these are the people who call our constitutional republic a democracy. Yeah. These are the folks who think that I saw one of them recently claim that the documentary A Precarious State that came out here in Minnesota, that was a campaign finance violation because it said bad things about Democrats.
Oh, I read the same thing. And Rick Capcello, we're trying to get him on the program, scheduling issues, hasn't answered. Who paid for it? How's that in your business?
Exactly right. Like, in order for something to be a campaign function, there has to be direct advocacy. It has to say vote for or against, or elect or unelect, or re-elect, or whatever. None of that was in that documentary. This is campaigning 101. And this was not a nobody. This was like a prominent Democrat activist. And so, again, their base is civically illiterate. And that's how you know that that's who this is geared towards. Because their entire messaging around the No Kings and the shutdown is rooted in civic illiteracy.
Well, even civic literacy. Okay, I can see that. We're going to teach these kids how our system works, or we don't, and maybe we've screwed that up. But I looked at the groups that were out there saving us from the king. Mostly, as far as I could tell, older folks. I mean, my age or older. These were folks that had some time on their hands, but they were all old enough to remember 5 years ago. I don't remember seeing one of these people saying, "What, you're closing my church down because we sing?" And that wasn't a King's movement, or you could keep the bar open, or heck, even that candy shop. All stores are closed down except for Walmart, Target, and the candy store up there on 169 because the front. That's King stuff. Tell me the thing they're saying that Donald Trump is doing that's kingy-like.
Well,
King-ish.
and a lot of them, because there have been man on the street interviews, right? And a lot of them can't articulate what it is. I think the one thing that does come up is him using the National Guard to go into a city like Portland. And it's like, okay.
To save people's lives?
Right. Yeah. So doing something about unchecked rampant crime or ICE is the other thing.
Yeah.
Enforcing immigration law that's on the books
Voted on by
a federal agency that's existed for decades. That's being a king. Again, it's just it's an exercise in vacuous nonsense. And that's why I think the White House's response when asked about it after the fact, what comment do you have on these No Kings rallies? I think it was J.D. Vance who said, "Who cares?"
But it's true. But I guess
that was his official answer.
I saw many of our representatives out there, going to rallies and being a part of it. I didn't see Walz. Maybe I just didn't read an article where he was at. But again, back to this guy who literally said you couldn't see your grandmother die in the hospital because, we can't. I can't imagine him want to do anything with this because the memes would be crazy.
Well, I don't think that's what stopped him, honestly.
Okay.
Who knows? There could have been scheduling issues, or maybe he does have a modicum of sense that it doesn't bode well for him next year to associate himself with the most extreme radical faction of his party. But yeah, it's not. I guarantee you, it's not a level of insight or self-awareness that kept Tim Walz from doing something.
Let's talk about, though, Tim, real quick. Governor Walz, he mentioned on Friday that he was going to go to do these town halls. And he had mentioned earlier he's going to go around the state and, gin up the folks that want to get gun legislation passed. But on Friday, he said, well, I'm going to go to those places, where I think those people will vote yes, the representatives or the senators. So my point is, he's not coming out to see me in the Rocks and Cows area. He's literally going to go to those places which he already knows the result and what's going on. It just seems theater again. It seems we keep doing theater. It's like, Governor Walz, come on this program. Come on out here to outstate Minnesota and let's have the conversation where people think about guns and what it is. Now, I'll stay where I'm thinking I can get people to vote for me. What are you doing? You're not changing any minds.
Yeah, I mean, I need to come up with a new word, but I keep using the word vacuous today. It must be vacuous Monday. In terms of talking about the Democrats. But yeah, no, there's no substance. There's no argument. There's no plan. There's no good faith. It is just one giant show. Okay. That seems to be their reaction to, because even though the Democrats hold significant power here in the state of Minnesota, as a national party, they seem to be stuck in this kind of weird manic depression over being out of power nationally. Yeah. And that is manifesting here in Minnesota as well. And this seems to be an example of it, where they're just kind of thrashing about, and any way they can come up with to performatively display. It's kind of like a kid having a temper tantrum in the grocery store. Like any way they can find to demonstrate how aggrieved they are, they're going to take that opportunity.
All right, I've got to go to break. I want to spend a little time because, again, for folks who listen most of the time, I haven't been one to really worry quite a little bit about the actual way we vote in Minnesota. It's not on the top of my mind, but we've had 4 or 5 little stories that didn't get a lot of press that came out in the last week about how we vote and what we do. And now I'm full on board, hoping I can convince everybody that comes in this program, we need to set new laws. This has become too ridiculous. We'll talk about it right after this with Representative Walter Hudson on the Al Travis Show.
You need a friend at the Capitol who knows how to get things done.
And you're in luck, because that's exactly who we are, your friends at the Capitol, and we deliver results.
At Momentum Advocacy, we bring decades of experience in lobbying, public affairs, and crisis communications.
From local nonprofits to national corporations, we help you move policy, manage your media, and make your voice heard.
We're not just seasoned pros, we're essential partners.
Momentum Advocacy, your friends at the Capitol. Learn more at momentum-advocacy.com.
Do you have a closet full of old videos, photos, slides, or films? Regain that space and preserve those memories for future generations. Visit archivinglifemedia.com or call 952-829-8018. See how safe and simple it is to digitize all your media. Gain peace of mind knowing that all those important memories will be saved and can be seen and shared again. Do it today. Check out archivinglifemedia.com or give them a call, 952-829-8018.
Amongst friends, the Al Travis Show. Nothing but talk.
Lucky to have him on with us. He is Representative Walter Hudson on the Al Travis Show. What I want to talk about is this voting issue, Representative. I wasn't thinking much about it. We did see that Steve Simon, Secretary of State, was not going to give Donald Trump our voter rolls. We have perfect voter rolls everybody should be very proud of. Clean as the driven snow. And I thought, okay, he's just poking Trump. Everybody is, like half a dozen states did it. It didn't really bother me. Then a story comes out, and two gentlemen pled guilty to federal charges of filling out 500 to 600 illegal voter registration cards, getting paid by a company, which none of the people in the video said who it was, drives me a little crazy, but that 99% of their financing came from state grants. So we're literally paying people who hired these people to fill out 5 to 6, and I said, why would anyone fill out 500 to 600 of these unless there's a nefarious reason? Now my instincts are up. Then some gal last week up in northern Minnesota whose mother really loved Trump, voted for Trump even though her mom had passed. I thought to myself, it can't be that easy. What? Mom, and now just so you know, my father passed 4 months ago. Because the story that came out later in the week was that Steve Simon wants this thing called a Voter Purge Protection Act. That if the state doesn't have confirmed good intel that you are either dead or moved out of the state, you stay in the voter rolls. The state's created my dad's death certificate. Tell Steve Simon that dad passed. It's the last thing on my mind to let Steve Simon know that dad passed and he should come off the roll. So he'll stay there. I move out of the state. Who's talking to Simon to say, I moved out of the state, I'm over here? this cannot be the way it's working today, sir, and I will leave it at you. Steve Simon comes out and he wants to talk about putting us to rest the concerns about driver's licenses for all law. Don't worry about it. There's a penalty. If you try to use that and you vote in Minnesota, you could be deported. We've only found 3 people doing this, none illegal immigrants in the last 10 years. If you don't look, sir, and you have no rules of catching the bad guys to begin with, of course we haven't found anybody. We're not looking. I'm now upset. I now want us to go through this whole thing. I know there are 500 to 600 false registrations in the system now. 2 guys just pled guilty federal charges on it. Clean them up. Let's go take a gander. Why is that so bad?
Well, first of all, just a minor fact check there. Those 500 fake voter registrations, they're not in the system. And that's one of the things that the Secretary of State was eager to point out when we had him at the fraud committee last week.
They said they dropped off in 13 different counties, right? Those 500. Well, how did they catch them? I thought they were already dropped off. That's what I'm saying. They were put in the system, or they knew what the 500 names.
They were dropped off, but they weren't processed and added to the actual voter rolls.
All right,
but
fair enough.
Notwithstanding, obviously it's a huge problem, right? The fact that that's something that people feel like they're enabled to do. But going back to the driver's licenses for all, when we were debating that, I think it was in 2023. Obviously, we were deeply concerned about the parallel policies of giving driver's license to illegal immigrants and having automatic voter registration whenever you sign up for a driver's license or when you engage with the system to get benefits, right? Which is they're obviously aiming at their constituency in order to get people on voter rolls. And as you say, the assurance that we're given by the Secretary of State's office is, oh, no need to worry. You see, when somebody comes in with their driver's license as an illegal immigrant, they have to sign a form that attests to the fact that they're eligible to vote, meaning that they are a U.S. citizen. And by God, if they were to lie, the consequences are so severe that that's going to act as a deterrent. And what we do is we check after the fact. Let's say it's same-day registration. Somebody does this. We check after the fact whether or not they're actually eligible to vote. And if we find out that they weren't, why, we refer that case to the county attorney for prosecution.
But the vote's in the can and you can't get it back out.
Correct. And when we tried to make that point, it was like trying to nail Jell-O to the wall to get them to admit that the ballot gets cast and counted.
So let me throw this at you, sir. So we have these rules that say you can't do that. So, of course, no one illegal would ever do it. Don't we have laws about, I don't know, stealing from feeding our futures or signing up for autism? We have laws against that, but people have done it. We have laws against speeding. People speed. What are you telling me that's the answer? There's no check on it, which is driving me crazy. Back to, I think we were talking about the Jasinski and Lang. Weren't you all just asking if you got a driver's license, if this is what we're going to give you, and you're not a legal voter, you could turn it, it would be sideways instead of horizontal, vertical, and they wouldn't even go do that one step?
No.
So you'd have...
Right. No, they would do nothing to distinguish between citizens and non-citizens, and we tried multiple different ways. The orientation of the license, having an actual not for voting disclaimer
label
on
the
card. Yeah. And they rejected all of it, which there's no good reason to do that, right? There just isn't. There's no good reason to not distinguish from citizen and citizen, unless you're trying to facilitate fraud. And again, in order to take Simon's protestation or excuse at face value, what you would have to believe is that Mary Moriarty in Hennepin County is really super eager to prosecute illegal aliens for voting. That's what you'd have to believe.
See, and that's the problem. And according to the senators I had on there talking about it, it's discrimination if your card looks different than everyone else's card. But that's exactly the point. We are saying your driver's license doesn't get you. We discriminate. You don't get to vote because you don't meet the criteria. That's not discriminating by any other reason other than you don't get to vote. You're not a citizen. Right. That's exactly what we want, is to delineate between the who's in and who's out. And they couldn't do it. So now I am very much, after these 5 articles, I want new rules. I want this. I want provisional balloting. If we don't know if you're good or not, put it over here and we'll find out. If you're good, we'll slide it in. But we're not going to slide it in and never be able to get it out. Is that so crazy?
No, it's basic. It's as basic common sense as locking your door at night.
Thank you.
And this was a point that I made during the hearing. You know, they love to get in this debate over whether or not there's fraud, and if so, how much. But that is completely beside the point.
Yes.
You have an insecure system. You have vulnerabilities in your system, which you have designed as part of that system in the name of so-called access and voter participation. That's no different than saying I'm going to leave my car running with the keys in it while I run into the grocery store for 45 minutes so that I have access to it when I get back. Yeah, you and everybody else who has no business being in that car.
Well, might as well.
That's our election system.
We only have 3 examples of non-citizens attempting to vote. I'm like, that's kind of like the jaywalking laws in my town. We have them. I'll bet you no one's been caught for jaywalking in this city for 25 years. You know why? It's just we got other things to worry about. That's not the deal. I got to fly. I'm out of time. I appreciate you, Representative Hudson. I really do thank you for coming on.
No problem.
Representative Walter Hudson on the Al Travis Show.